Hello, everybody. Welcome to Elite Weather Forecasting. I'm meteorologist Mr. G with you on your Tuesday early afternoon here, about the midday here across the Twin Cities. Our city of the day is going to be Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and as you can see, brilliant sunshine today. A very beautiful day out there across western Pennsylvania right now, as we're seeing those mild temperatures today under those sunny skies, and that's going to continue for the next several days. But however, as we move into the weekend, a storm system will come up from the south, and that's going to bring some rain and possibly some snow to the region as well by the time we get into the weekend. Now let's move through the forecast for the rest of the lower 48 and talk about what to expect for the rest of this week. So as we move on with the rest of the weather forecast, let's take a look at our first map. And we're going to be dealing with a lot of rain down across the southern plains and some snow as well as we head through the rest of the week and into Saturday. A storm system is going to develop across the southern plains and move down into the northern Gulf of Mexico. And with that, we're going to see a lot of tropical moisture come up off of the Gulf of Mexico and into southern Texas, as well as through parts of the Mississippi River Delta, and we're going to be seeing a lot of heavy rain as we head toward the end of the week, especially towards Friday. We're going to see that heavy rain start to envelop this entire area, and we're going to see colder air begin to come down out of the Rockies. So we're going to start to see snow through parts of the southern plains and the high plains into New Mexico, Colorado, as well as through parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. So we're going to start off with some rain, some thunderstorms. The potential for severe weather also exists, but we're going to see on the back end of that some heavy snow, potentially where we can see up to a foot of snow across some parts of the high plains across northern Texas and through New Mexico and Colorado. So as we take a look at our next map, the next step for the evolution of this storm is going to be along the Gulf Coast, as our low pressure will move out over the northern Gulf. We're going to see that tropical moisture get fed into the Gulf Coast here. So New Orleans down through Lafayette and Beaumont, Texas, all the way over to Houston. We're going to run that potential for some heavy rain and some severe thunderstorms as well by the time we get to Saturday. And then that threat is going to continue. This is the potential for how much rain we could see. We could see up to 2 to 3 inches of rain here through parts of north central Texas and northwestern Texas. So we're going to see that very heavy rainfall. 1 to 2 inches is going to be possible if you're in the Dallas area, as well as down towards Houston as well. We're going to see that potential there for a couple of inches of rainfall too as we head into the weekend through Saturday. But nice for the most part right now. This is not until Friday and into Saturday, so we're going to see that storm develop down along the Gulf Coast, and that's going to play a role in the weather all the way up to the northeast as we head into the weekend. So yeah, possibly another stormy weekend for the northeast. Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's talk about the flash flood threat across Texas. Well, we have a slight risk for some flash flooding. So there's going to be the possible, this is not a guarantee, but it could be enough rainfall that could lead to some flash flooding. For one thing, it's very dry out across northwestern Texas right now. So a lot of that rainfall, it could come down very, very heavily, and it's not going to be able to soak into the ground. You need a nice softer rain for it to soak in. Very dried out. It's going to run off really quick. So any slightly hilly areas, we're going to see a lot of runoff. So the potential for flash flooding will exist across north and western Texas, and we're going to see that continue down along the Gulf Coast. So if you're in East Texas and Louisiana, we can also see the risk for flash flooding, as it has been very dry across Texas in particular. So any heavy rainfall is going to run off faster than it can be absorbed into the soil. So again, that potential exists for Louisiana. We don't see that we do see that across. That's going to be something we could see down there near New Orleans, that says those levees cannot handle more than, say, 2 inches of rain in a short period of time. So we could see that bowl effect of the lower Mississippi Delta take effect, and where we could see some flooding down in southern Louisiana as this week progresses. Here is our flash flood threat across the South. We're going to see that Thursday, Friday, and again on your Saturday. We're going to see that potential for flash flooding down across the southern plains and into the Gulf Coast as well. So something to be prepared for and track as we move on through time here. So where it's going to be some snow this week as well. So through Friday, we're going to be looking at snow over through parts of the southern plains. So New Mexico, Colorado, and Kansas, parts of Oklahoma, and extreme northwestern Texas, and north of Amarillo, we're going to see that potential for winter storms. So that means we could see at least 6 inches of snow in this area right in here. We can see that potential there. So it's a very heavy snowfall. So we're going to keep that. We're going to keep monitoring and tracking the weather development through the rest of the week in that location there, as we see that potential for that wintry weather. So we could have a winter weather advisory through parts of western Kansas, east central Colorado, but we have that winter storm warning for northern New Mexico and northwestern Texas. I have a friend that lives in northern New Mexico, so they're going to have potentially a white Christmas for their area. So that's going to be interesting for them to deal with some heavy snow across that region in northern New Mexico. Here is the snowfall forecast through Friday across the southern plains, where we could see that potential for 5 to 8 inches of snow across northwestern New Mexico and south central Colorado, where we could see even as much as 12 to 18 inches of snow over an area right here near Trinidad, Colorado, and east of Durango. So we can see that potential there for that very heavy snowfall. And north of Santa Fe, we can see 18 to 24 inches of snow potentially in that area. So a lot of snow expected across the southern plains as we head through toward the weekend as well. So again, that storm system along the Gulf Coast is going to come up across Florida as we head through the weekend here, and we're going to see that heavy rain across Florida, and that storm is going to make that left turn and head up the eastern seaboard, and that's going to spread heavy rain through the southeast, the mid-Atlantic, and parts of the northeastern and the big cities as well. Here is our flash flood threat for Florida. So we got 3 days potentially where we could see some flash flooding, as that's going to be for your Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, as we have a risk here for flash flooding down across southeastern Florida, particularly in Miami and Fort Lauderdale is where we have the greatest risk for flooding as far as this week is concerned. Here is your rainfall expectations. The heaviest rain is going to fall southeastern Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the Palm Beaches. Again, that potential there for 5 to 8 inches of rain, 3 to 5 inches of rain in the orange, and in the yellow, 2 to 3 inches of rain. So a lot of rain expected across Florida through the end of the weekend here, as we have that storm system that's going to zip up the eastern seaboard and become a nor'easter for New England as we head into the weekend. Mostly a snowless nor'easter, but we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Here is our flash flood threat across Florida, where we have the likelihood of seeing flash flooding from central North Florida down to the southeast there, and we're going to see that potential there for flooding across the Sunshine State. Not going to be much for sunshine this week and this weekend. So through Friday, we have our current flood alerts in place. A flood watch is in place, issued by the National Weather Service along I-95 from Homestead, Florida, all the way up through West Palm Beach. We're going to see that flood watch in place right now, and that's going to be through Thursday night. And I'm sure that's going to be extended in time as well. Now, one of the other things that we're seeing is high winds. We have that low pressure, so that is going to make a lot of wind coming off of the east there. So an east wind, northeasterly wind. So we're going to make for a lot of high surf. The potential for rip currents exists as well. So we're going to see rip current warnings and high surf advisories along the east coast of Florida. And again, if you're out boating or if you're swimming or doing whatever along the beach, be very careful and pay attention to what you're doing and recognize safety issues beforehand, okay? All right, so we haven't seen a lot of snow over the last couple of years. It's been a good 2 years, and we can kind of blame that on the La Nina situation, which kind of redirects storms and brings a lot of moisture up along the Gulf Stream current off the Atlantic coast. But that's a lot of warmer air, so that limits your snow potential in the Northeast. And that's what we typically see during La Nina because of the polar jets, the polar vortex usually sets up over the upper Midwest and the northern plains. So that brings very, very cold air down from Canada over the central U.S. and the Great Lakes, but in turns brings up very warm air from the Gulf Coast along the southeast and the east coast. So we have that positive. We typically have a negative NAO or negative AO in the Atlantic, so that's going to make for a stormy pattern. However, it's going to be a warmer pattern on the East Coast, so we're going to see more rain in the big cities than snow. We'll get a lot of snow, but the snow occurs inland over the Adirondacks and over the Catskills and over the interior portions of the Northeast and New England, but you tend to see more rain along the coast, so along I-95, so Boston down to DC, we would typically see more rain. But we're going to see that potential there again for a lot of rain in the Northeast and more snow into parts of the Northeast. I wouldn't say it's going to see record amounts of snow, but the potential is there to see a little bit more snow this winter. Whew, okay. All right, so let's move on with the weather forecast. Let's talk about that departure from normal as far as the snow. So last season, we saw 56 inches of snow in Portland, Maine, 49 in Boston, 2.3 inches only in New York City, less than an inch in Philly, and less than an inch in DC. That is 13 inches less than normal, and you saw 12 below, 36 inches below average in parts of Boston, in Boston area. So we saw that big time snow deficit last winter across the Northeast. We might continue to see more of that. Our snow departure from average here across the upper Midwest. So we see that Minneapolis, in the area where I live, we are currently 7 inches behind our typical snowfall to date. From September 1st to this date, we are 7 inches below. Duluth, just to our north, is 19 inches below. However, if you take a look at Marquette, Michigan, which gets a lot of snow, a lot of it is lake effect, but they are 32 inches below standard for this time of the year. So they are 32 inches below climatology for this time of the year, and we're also seeing a bit behind across in the northern plains as well. So we're certainly seeing that El Nino effect and that lack of snow that we're going to be seeing across the northern tier of the country. So Christmas week trouble. So Christmas week, we're going to have that storm coming up the eastern seaboard, coming out of the Gulf of Mexico and coming up the eastern seaboard along the Gulf current there. So we're going to see that nor'easter. So we have that low pressure forecast to quickly slide up the east coast, and widespread rain, gusty winds, and interior snow is going to be possible. Major airports could be impacted. You're going to face some delays and cancellations, especially in places like Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Syracuse. You can see delays because of snow, but we're going to see that heavy rain along the 95 corridor and I-85. We're going to see that heavy rain that could cause delays on the ground as far as traveling by vehicle or by bus or by train. So we could see those delays. Here's a look at some select cities where we could be looking at the potential there for showers that's going to take place through Tuesday afternoon, and we're going to see clouds and showers in the forecast for New York City from Sunday through Tuesday next week. So again, a wet forecast for you guys in the Northeast, Washington, D.C. as well. We're going to see those rain showers in the forecast become a little bit more heavy and steady as we head towards Tuesday p.m. We're going to see those showers, but we're going to see more steady rainfall Sunday through Monday daytime. So again, another wet weekend and start to your week next week for Northeast and New England. So enjoy the nice weather that you're having right now. Here is the current snowfall cover for the northern plains of the upper Midwest and the Rockies. We're seeing a lot of snow on the ground through parts of the Rockies here. We're seeing a lot of snow from Colorado through parts of Wyoming and to Montana, even though some areas are still below average, but we're still seeing a decent amount of snow on the ground across the Rockies and in that region. But however, across the upper Midwest and in the northern plains, the Dakotas here, we are seeing about 5 to 8 inches here in this region. But look at Minneapolis. So Minneapolis and Minnesota is going to be kind of experiencing drought conditions for this weekend. Not this weekend, but for this winter. We're going to be below average in our precipitation, but overall above average in the temperature. But we can see that we are more than less than 19% coverage on the snow. So we are less than 1 inch of snow on the ground in most of the upper Midwest here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, as well as into Michigan. We have less than 1 inch of snow on the ground, and many areas don't even have any snow at all. My wife and I are spending Christmas in Illinois near the Chicago area with my wife's family, and look at that, almost no snow on the ground near Chicago, less than 1 inch. But we're going to be over in northwestern Illinois near Iowa, near the Quad Cities, and you can see 0 snow on the ground. So we're not going to see a white Christmas this year, but we're not complaining about that at all. We're not complaining about not having a white Christmas. Okay, so your percentage of average snow this season, we are way behind here across the upper Midwest. It's so bad it's brown, and we are more than 25%. We're about 50% below average right now. So as you can see where the brown is, where you are way below average, but if you see the purples and blues, that's way are above average. Look at this, eastern Kansas, Wichita eastward towards Missouri, northwestern Missouri, 200 to 400% above average. So this is where we're going to see a lot of snow. It's across the Rockies, the southern Rockies, the central and southern plains, the southern Tennessee Valley, the Mississippi River Valley, and parts of this region right in here is where we're going to see a lot of snow and instances of icing and freezing rain as well. But if you're in the north, here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas, going to be kind of dry out there and a little bit warmer as well. So a lot less snow potential. And we do have a good snow potential here across the, for the next 10 days across the southern plains here across New Mexico, as you can see, as we saw earlier in the forecast, where we're talking about a lot of snow expected over northern New Mexico and then parts of Colorado and down through Kansas, Oklahoma, and North Texas, where we have that storm system that's going to play a role in our weather toward the end of the week. So as you can see, we have a heavy chance of seeing snow across the southern plains and into parts of the Rockies as well, is where we have that potential to see some snow, and we could see a little bit of snow through parts of the Ohio Valley and through the Appalachian Mountains and the Adirondack Mountains as well, as we can see some snow potential over the next 10 days. So again, some winter, some snow. Only 18% of the country actually has snow on the ground, and we'll see a white Christmas this winter. So a bit of good news for most of you. You won't have to worry about that as you travel to and from your Christmas vacation, your destinations. Okay, so we're seeing it very likely warmer across the upper Midwest and the northern plains through Christmas Day. So through Tuesday the 26th, from the 20th through the 26th. So this is Christmas week. We're going to see above average here across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. And most of the country is going to be above average as far as the temperatures is concerned. We're going to see above average rainfall across the west, the southwest, so California and the desert southwest. And we're going to see above average. But look at this across the north. The northern plains, drier than average, drier across the Great Lakes and the northeast and the mid-Atlantic as well. So a dry Christmas and a warmer Christmas. So great for coming into the holiday here. My name is Mr. G, your meteorologist. Thank you for watching me today. Leave your likes and comments. Feel free to subscribe to the channel on TikTok and YouTube. Bye-bye.